Hi all, I welcome you to the Building Culture podcast where I invite incredibly smart people who build things. Whether they be engineers, entrepreneurs, programmers, hobbyists, or researchers, it does not matter. As long as you're someone who's passionate about building things, I'll find you and podcast you. Hi, all. I want to take a brief moment to thank you all personally for supporting this podcast on YouTube and on all major podcast platforms, including Google Podcasts and Spotify. The podcast mainly features interesting people in robotics, artificial intelligence, and entrepreneurship. If you believe that the information that I'm providing might be of benefit to you or to someone you know, it would be really great if you could hit the subscribe button and press the notification icon so that you can get notified on time whenever the next part is out. It would literally take you a second or two to subscribe to the podcast, but it would really mean a lot to me because I can grow the podcast to a level where I can reach more people, invite ever more interesting guests, and have a more meaningful impact. So let's begin now. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of talking to my past manager at Uniper, who is involved in various interesting projects including digitalization and a lot of other areas related to artificial intelligence. Talking about Soumya is he's a people's person. He's someone who is incredibly passionate about building teams, and the way he has carried us and our team with our unique project was really something to learn from in a way, and this is something that I specifically admire about Shom. In today's episode, we'll talk a lot about the work that he does at Uniper, his way of thinking, how he manages teams, his opinions and mindset about leadership, and a lot of other interesting things. So without any further ado, let's welcome Soumya Chatterjee.
Thanks, Chandan. Thanks all of you who is listening in to this podcast. So it's a pleasure for me to join Chandan and get this opportunity to talk about myself and also the work I'm doing at Uniper. So quick introduction from my side. My name is Soumya. I'm from Kolkata, India. I studied IT back home, and then in 2011 I moved to Manchester to study advanced computer science and IT management from the University of Manchester. I was really a big fan of computer security back then, specializing in cryptography and network security, and that actually drove me to work further in the research sector in Paris from the research institute called National Institute of Research in Computer Science and Control, shortly INRIA, in Paris. For a year there, I learned a lot about formal methodologies, data privacy, computer security and IT security in general. But after learning that it's a very niche field, and once you go more and more into the security domain, the career opportunities for you gets really lesser and lesser. So then I decided to actually stop and phase out and take a break and think about what else I am interested in. And that's when the opportunity at E.ON really struck me, and I took the chance and moved from France to Germany and started my traineeship at E.ON in 2014. After finishing the graduate trainee program, I chose the career path of an IT project manager. And since then, I'm mostly working in all digitalization projects at Uniper since 2017. Mostly focusing on our assets, so the power plants. It's pretty cool company. I can really recommend anyone to join us. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the cool company part. And can you tell us about your journey at Uniper? So before Uniper was called E.ON, right? And then E.ON split into Uniper, and E.ON is now a separate company. So can you tell us about the starting point of how working at E.ON was? What was the work culture? What were the things that you were involved in? And then after that, delve into the work at Uniper. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Sure. So From my perspective, I think Eon, when I started in 2014, it's definitely a very, very big organization. I think it shrunk a little bit after the spin-off and everything, but back then it was a very big organization, one of the top energy companies in Germany. Very, very international work culture. So our team had people from all over the world. The working language was also English in our team. I was assigned a buddy, a mentor from day one in my traineeship, which I felt was very, very beneficial. And the work overall was also very interesting. There were a lot of big projects where I got a chance to work as a PMO, as a deputy project manager, and slowly but steadily also getting more responsibilities in those roles. What I somehow lacked a little bit was growth, but then again I was a trainee, so I can't expect a lot of growth already in the traineeship, but I didn't really see a very fast forward future for me in that company back then. Then there was the decision to spin off Uniper, and our entire department was moving in. At that point, we had the chance to also decide if we would like to stick to Eon or to move to Uniper. And I actually chose to move to Uniper because I felt there will be new opportunities, new ways of working, and new colleagues, of course. And that, to a very large extent, became true. Here, of course, at Uniper, now we are still very, very international. We inherit the good points from Eon, of course, and we take them forward. But at the same time, we became even more diverse, more international, and some of the work that we are currently doing in digitalization is really state of the art. So that I really enjoy. And also, I, of course, see growth potential in the company for young people like us. So that's definitely a big plus for me to continue to work here.
Okay, yeah, there are quite a few interesting projects, and I think at Uniper now they are investing heavily on digitalization, and they want to progress more in that direction. We'll talk more about the projects and the things that are going on at Uniper, but can you now tell us about like how have you evolved over these years? Because you talk about like you joined as a GET at Eon, and then you kind of switched to Uniper after that when you were asked to make a decision. So how have you personally evolved?
So looking back at it now, of course, 2014 till 2020, it's already now 6 years. So 6 years of me working in these two companies. And I can definitely think of that journey to be really great so far. So, like I said, as a trainee, I was mostly focused on project management, as that was the career path I had in my mind after the traineeship. I had several projects where I got the opportunity to work with really cool people and also be able to contribute and add business value to the projects. But then when I finally got the chance to work as a project manager and started to work on my own projects, that was a really, I would say, moment where I realized that this is the career that I want to pursue. And after working in projects, I again realized that actually I love working with people, and I love to also make the people who are working with me happy, and that's something I received several feedback in the past years that people really enjoyed working with me, and that I really take positively and would like to expand in future, and that's the reason why my boss as well as my mentor, they agreed to allow me to work virtually as team leaders for several projects. Not team leader, sorry, there I messed up, but so team leader for virtual teams, a part of which you were, for example, last year, and to also enhance my personal as well as leadership skills, so also enhancing myself professionally, but at the same time also personally, because learning from students, learning from trainees, this is something which is constant and happens every day. And I can only imagine me doing this even more in future. So yeah, looking forward to that.
So, but initially your career started with IT and technical stuff, and then once you got the chance of exploring management, you luckily found your interest in project management, and you also knew that you were good with people and you'd love to manage people and lead them. So, how did this shift in mindset came? Or
Yeah.
if you had like more technical projects, could you still be in the IT field, or is it like something that you discovered that is for me?
So that's a very interesting question, because I mean, and there are different perspectives I think you can think from. So you can think from perspectives that I would like to do things that I really love doing, versus I would like to not do things that I do not like. So mine started from
Okay.
here. So I really loved security. I went into it. I started going deeper and deeper into it. Then I reached a point where I thought, okay, this is the extent I can go into it and not further. But of course, if I don't go further, I cannot advance in that sector. That's when I like took a step back and decided to start something. And traineeship is a really really good opportunity in that context, because it allows you to think about what could be your potential. So you can actually plan your future, so to say. So you can test different activities in different teams. I have worked always or mostly focused on project management, because I had a feeling that this is something I would like. But at the same time, I did projects in completely different teams, like from IT strategy teams to business controlling, to try out the different parts of the value chain, to explore those and feel which is the area that is the most interesting for me, which is the one where I can learn a lot. And then in the end, that decision came to me as, okay, project management for sure as a discipline, and assets as the domain, because that's the area where I see or I saw back then my future and currently my present in. So that's how I decided. So it was definitely, I mean, I could also see me doing projects in finance, or also in core IT like networks or infrastructure. But I felt assets to be the most interesting for me, as there is a lot of innovation and growth potential there.
So, the most important thing that helped you realize what your interests are is exploration, and that
Definitely.
traineeship allowed you to do. And also at Uniper, I think a training program is of 1 year, and you get to experience and work at different departments, right? Or was it also the
So
same at
um,
Eon when you were working?
So Eon, I think the Uniper trainee program is an inheritance from Eon. It offers exactly the same benefits, I think, plus more. It's a 2-year program where you get a chance to explore different departments. And of course, different departments offer these traineeships. So you will get, for example, traineeships in IT, you can get traineeships in trading, you can get traineeships in finance, procurement, and so on. And every traineeship will have your buddy assigned to you, who will help you out throughout your journey, plus a mentor who's a much experienced individual in the same track where you are hired, and would help you guide through your traineeship. So he or she will guide you through your traineeship, and help you choose the right paths, or help you in making the decisions. So there I got the pleasure to be mentored by Michael Schifat, who's the head of our asset IT team, and still my mentor, of course. And
Yeah.
he really helped me choosing the right placements, so that I can learn a lot from the entire IT value chain. So this is something I really cherish, and this is something which Uniper still kept on doing, or is still keeping so kept on doing. And that is really, I think, beneficial for any young professional to start their career in.
Yeah, definitely. So the exploration
And the
and the
right
right
mentorship
mentorship
under
under
the
the
right
right
guidance.
guidance, one can discover which direction one wants to go in and one's personal inclinations are. So now let's move on to the more professional aspects of this talk. So here we will talk more about Uniper, what are the projects that are going on, and what is the stuff that you do here. So let's first start with talking about Uniper. You briefly described what Uniper does in an overall way. Now can you focus more on what you do at Uniper, and touching also the other areas that Uniper is in, the vision of Uniper?
Yeah, sure. So I think of course, first of all, Uniper is an energy company. It's based in Düsseldorf. It's very multinational. It operates over 40 countries. It has more than 11,000 employees. So I work here as an IT project manager in the IT division of Uniper. We call it Uniper IT GmbH. I work mostly in digitalization projects in our department, which is called Asset IT. And Asset IT is the, let's say, door to the IT/digitalization world for the Uniper assets. So Uniper assets is a combination of, let's say, CCGT power plants, nuclear power plants, coal-fired power plants, also storage facilities, and even more. Hydropower, for example, and it goes more and more. There are even more types of assets, and our team is responsible for managing the portfolio of all the applications that are running in these different assets, and also for managing the projects that we are doing with these assets. So in my role, I actually get the opportunity to work on innovative projects, mostly where we are trying to develop a new product for an asset. Or when we are creating a new digital solution for an asset looking into a specific problem. So that's basically my main piece of work.
Okay, can you talk about, I'm not sure if you can talk in detail about the projects. Can you give like an overview, a highlight of the kind of projects that are going on? Because a lot of stuff is also confidential. So I know you cannot explain everything.
Yeah, so understood. Definitely can share some of the projects that we have worked on. With a real example. So let's say a part of our business was really facing a challenge that they have too much work and they have less people. And they had a lot of pen and paper based process to support their maintenance activities for the power plants. Our job was to think about how can we solve that problem. So we started from scratch. We discussed with the power plant colleagues on what are the areas, what are the maintenance areas and the processes that are hurting them the most. So what is it that takes them so long, or what is it that they have to wait a long time for? And starting from there, we thought about creating a mobile app which will help them do their plant maintenance based activities. And that actually had a really big impact on their entire fleet, because in less than 2 years we rolled it out to more than 110 people, which represented the entire fleet. And everyone was very happy about using the app, because they don't need to come to the office Monday morning to get a piece of paper to then go off to the remote locations to do maintenance activities, come back again to submit that piece of paper, which is then taken by another individual, and they start putting the data into the system. Everything is then managed by the app, and the system in this case directly sends the work to the colleague via the app. The colleague, while sitting at home, sees, okay, now I have 10 activities I need to do in the next 5 days, and off he or she goes, and they finish the work, they click the confirmation button, and the response is immediately sent back to the system, which then not only saves time directly for the colleagues as well as the planner, but as an indirect effect, it saved us more than 15,000 kilometers of fuel costs, because the employees did not need to travel so much for this purpose. So just as an example of the things that we are doing.
So mostly the projects stem from a need in the power plants, or to make it simpler, automate it, or reduce the costs that are being spent there. Okay. So now, can you talk about what are a few digitalization projects without going into much details? Just an overview of digitalization related projects.
So I think there are actually, to be honest, hundreds of ideas that we have in our minds, and actually not even in our minds, but more in the engineer's mind in our company. But some of the ones where I have at least worked on, or I have some ideas around, are around the use of drones, for example, for power plant inspections. Now you might think, okay, drones is not a very new thing anymore. It's still there now for a decade or even more. What's new in it? So the way we approach it is slightly different. We think that drones can be done, so drones can run with very less human intervention. And it can do still a lot of activities that we are doing in the power plant when there is a hazard. So if you think of an incident that has happened in the power plant, the very first thing we always do is to make sure that the people in the site are safe, and nothing is more priority than that. Emerging technologies like drones, like image analysis, really helps us in these situations, because they act as a additional layer of security between a hazard and us as people. So these are some of the technologies that I can definitely think of which we are working on. And trying to innovate new solutions together with our site colleagues and the IT colleagues. Yeah, can't talk more about it now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I'm not trying to ask you the details of the project, because a lot of stuff would also be confidential. But just to give the audience an idea of what are the kind of things that are going on here. So now let's talk about work culture of Uniper. Like I've worked at a lot of places before as well, and I think that the Uniper's work culture is something unique, and it's like the people care for each other in some way, or yeah, I don't know how to describe. How would you describe Uniper's work culture?
So
Because there's something going on clearly.
So I think it's different. Let's start by saying that it's different. So by different I mean so in a positive way, of course. So when we moved from Eon and we created this new company Uniper, the overall feeling that everyone had in their minds was, okay, this is a company that will be shoved off in the next few years. It only has assets that will just erode away in the next 10, 20 years. So who will care? Then we had the management team in Uniper, led by Klaus Schäfer, our CEO back then, who had a different vision. They actually thought, why not? Why can't we actually be one of the best energy companies in Germany, in Europe, in the world? And it started from there. They introduced this culture, this what we call Uniper way, which most of the people in the company really follows, and it's really straightforward. It's about caring for each other, understanding each other, enjoying the diversity that we have. So no one should care if I'm an Indian person, if I'm a male or I'm a female, or I'm completely I don't know, religious or non-religious, or yeah, these kind of factors are not taken into consideration. It's just that you are a professional coming to the workplace, contributing towards the company's vision, and we care for you, and that's the atmosphere where we work in. And this is really good for anyone, especially new joiners, of course, because they feel it a lot, because and also individuals like you, Chandan, as you said, that you have worked in different companies, so you also have more exposure to different work cultures. You will also feel it, because it will be different. And once you are used to it, it's also bad, because then the expectations that you have is right up there. And then if you go to even a bigger company, you will still be surprised.
That's true. That's definitely true. So, but this attitude also, translates to productive output as well, right? So, when this is the kind of environment that the company has, then people, I think, feel motivated themselves to give their best. What is your take on the how it affects
I
productivity?
think the biggest thing I have learned at Uniper is the fact that managers really trust their people, which leads to all these positive outcomes. Because if I would see that my manager always asks me for every single detail about the work that I'm doing, how am I doing it, whether I have delivered it on time or not, what was the feedback from the customer, etc., etc., that would always keep me under pressure somehow. It's not a bad thing, but it will always keep me
Mm.
stressed. At Uniper, we normally don't have that, which takes out the stress element, which then makes your mind free, which then helps you being productive. At the same time, the relationship between you and your manager, as well as the people around, so your peers, start to get stronger and stronger, because you are contributing so you're adding value by contributing and working. At the same time, others are doing it as well, and then you are also talking about off-topic stuff, you are talking about personal topics with each other, which makes the relationships around you more stronger. And as soon as it's somehow bonded with trust, it just works. And yeah, then it's easy, I think.
But it's probably one of the most difficult things, right? I mean, companies spend so much time and energy trying to understand how to make a good work environment. Even companies that are starting out would spend so much time and energy. So is probably the most important thing. If you figure this thing out, then a lot of other things take care of themselves on their own. So. So if a new person graduate from a university, whether bachelor's or master's, would wish to work at Uniper, how would he apply it? What is the procedure? I saw a few openings there, so maybe you can advertise there, and if any suitable
Sure.
candidates are interested.
So I think there are many ways of approaching it. So it also depends on the individuals and what are their needs. So you can always reach out to our career portal and apply there directly. And all the applications that we have, as far as I know, are always done online. So there is a formal process that is in place, which is what everyone needs to follow for whenever he or she would apply for any role. What you can do in addition is, of course, scout for people in Uniper that you think are relevant and are fit for those kind of roles, who are experienced. So if there is a opening for a project manager at Uniper IT, or at Uniper with another part of Uniper, and someone finds a project manager working at Uniper, and asks about certain insights, I think normally people are very open and would share their insights, which then gives a very good idea about what the company is doing, what the role demands, and whether or not this person is actually fit for that role. So this is some kind of, I would say, pre or scouting phase everyone can do on their own. But it also depends on individuals. Some people like it directly, so they would go and apply directly. I would always, for example, recommend anyone to apply with a cover letter, for example, because that's very, very important, to express why you are interested in the company and why you are like the best one for this role. That definitely helps in the selection process. But also at the same time, I recommend people to talk to existing employees from the same company and get to know them a little bit, get to know what they do, and think if he or she will actually like doing that stuff, and then apply, right? So this is what I can recommend.
Okay, so apart from applying formally, as per the formal procedure on the website, you also recommend talking to employees and getting to understand what their requirements are, and applying in that way. And one thing that I really found different at Uniper's way of recruiting was that it held an event where it invited potential employees to play games with the existing employees, communicate and interact in a casual environment, and then from that the recruitment process continued. So is there some other way the employees should be contact the aspirants should be contacting the employees via LinkedIn, or where these kinds of announcements are made?
So I can definitely tell you to follow Uniper in all the platforms that Uniper is in. Would include LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Zing. And whenever we make those events, they are mostly one-off, so we don't do them regularly because it also requires a lot of effort from our side to organize it. And actually we had plans also doing it, but due to Corona this year we stopped them. So there will definitely be more in future, and everyone, of course, who is interested to work with us are welcome in those sessions. But I think a good thing would be already to start following the company because we always make these kind of announcements public, so it's not a closed forum for where we selectively invite people. It's an open invite. I have accommodated people who have asked for an joining request the evening before the event, and we could manage that. So normally we are very flexible, and we really love that people would like to join these sessions and get to know us as well as we get to know them. And again, it's casual, right? So it's not like we give you an offer already on that day. So it's not a job fair, and neither it's like you don't get anything out of it. At least you get a very nice evening out of it, which is not that bad, right?
And now, so for selecting people, what are the skill sets that you consider? For example, for a project that is dealing with digitalization or drone or some other things, what are the skill sets that you look for? Do you also look for soft skills? Because ultimately you have to be dealing with people, or more on the technical skills?
So I think it's a very broad question, Chandan. So I don't have a clear answer to that, because I mean, for a digitalization project, we could think of so many different vacancies, right? So there could be someone who can design a UX for an application, whereas someone could be hired for leading a digitalization project, whereas someone could be the web developer creating the application. So each profiles would have its own set of criterias. What I can think in common would be the willingness to learn. So that is, I think, always common in all these roles, because for digitalization, it's not like a platform it's not like Microsoft Office. I think that's even a worse example, because they are also constantly upgrading it. But it's not like I am an expert in PowerPoint 2007, and I need an expert in PowerPoint 2007. So, okay, this is a perfect fit. Here we are talking about things that are evolving and changing every day. So a solution that involves a drone to fly around, do something, will already look different 6 months from now, will already look different 3 years from now, and looked different 5 years ago. So it's the willingness for you to learn and to think out of the box that will always help in any sort of role I can think of when it comes to digitalization. And also, what I think is really helpful is a little bit knowledge into some of the programming languages. Again, depending on what that role is. Even for the project manager, if he or she knows a little bit programming, it doesn't hurt. It only helps them to execute the projects faster. Because with digitalization, we often couple it with agile project delivery. And when it comes to agile project delivery, in ideal agile terms, you don't have anyone like a project manager. You have in Scrum, for example, Scrum Master. And then the Scrum Master's actual role is to make sure that the team is able to function and work properly. And he or she is responsible only to make sure that the guys are working effectively. But if the guys are developing a scripting, so let's say they are working on scripts, and this person has no clue about it, then it could become difficult. And that's where a little bit knowledge about programming languages like Python, like JavaScript, they can only help. But yeah, it's still individual requirements for different roles.
Yeah, it's a very broad question, but generally, what you're looking for is a willingness to learn so that one can adapt according to the changing times. So, also, one talking about recruitment, one particular question that would probably you would have heard this question quite a lot. Are German skills important? How important are German skills?
So at Uniper, I think for certain vacancies, it's important. So if you work for Uniper sales, where the clients are German, you need to know German. If you're working for Uniper IT, where you are working with infrastructure related topics, no, it's not needed, because you will work mostly with people who are also very international, and you probably will be working with a lot of Indian colleagues. So yeah, then there is no need for you to know that language. So again, it depends on the specific tracks, the specific job requirement. If you are, let's say, trying to get a management position, it could also be really important that you need to know German, because let's say the team that you will be given is, let's say, fully German. So then you need to communicate with them, and sometimes it's good to know the language. So yeah. But if you are working in IT, or even in some other areas where so German is not a big criteria, where they also mention that German would be beneficial, there I don't think it's needed. It's good to know it, because it will only help you socialize with the colleagues even faster. If not, it should still be okay.
So it depends on the profile, but even for the profiles, it's not explicitly stated. It's good to know the language.
Exactly.
to
So if it's not
connect
stated
with it.
that German is needed, I would not care. I would apply, because then it's not required. But if I know and I can communicate, it's even better.
It's an advantage
Yeah,
over
exactly,
other
exactly.
candidates. So now let's come to the part three of the conversation. In this part, we talk about your mindset, how you approach project management and leadership. So, the first question that I would want to ask you in this particular section is, what is going on in your mind when you are dealing with new colleagues or team members, basically, because your role would play a very important role in building a sustainable work culture for Uniper overall. So, how do you approach new team members? This is also a very broad question. So generally, I just want to know, like, giving a task, what is going on in your mind? How would you approach a failure by a team member or a person you are managing? Just stuff like that. Generally, how do you deal with?
So I think yeah, you're right that it's a very broad question. So
Yeah.
I will try to answer it with my little experience of leading people. I think it's important to listen to every individual in a team. This is very, very important. I feel because as a manager or as a leader, it's important to understand that everyone in the team is equal. Even including that person himself or herself, right? So no one should have the feeling of being superior to others, even though they might be by qualification superior or by experience superior. So I have always tried, when I worked in projects or even in teams, to make everyone comfortable and make everyone believe that everyone is similar to each other. So no one is like, I'm the boss, and so this is not really like the master slave equation, but more like a flat hierarchy where everyone feels welcome. They all feel that they trust each other, and that they would be they listen to each other. I think this is the key to somehow have a sustainable team, and a team that is actually very happy. And this I am very proud of, because the colleagues I worked with in the last 1.5 or even 2 years, everyone I think enjoyed the work. This was the biggest achievement for me, that everyone that worked in the team told me, even when they left, for example, like you, and went on to move to your next career. that they enjoyed doing what they did, and they enjoyed
Definitely.
being in that team. That meant a lot to me, because it makes me feel that, okay, at least I'm doing it in the right direction. And also a lot of feedback that I have received from all of you, that I can improve, and that makes me, even as a person, more professional. So yeah, it's really, I think, listening to each other, listening to what someone has to say, and trusting everyone in the team, makes the team really strong, and creates a kind of bond, where when you are in Aachen, we can hang out and go out for a burger night, right? So this is the thing. So even in Corona, we met, and we had a burger lunch in Düsseldorf, where the students from Aachen came over. Of course, it was a volunteering invite, so if you feel comfortable, only then you come. But it was a nice occasion, as a couple of colleagues were leaving and were moving on. We decided we do this, and yeah, we really enjoyed it, and that's a nice feeling.
Yeah, one thing I really appreciate is the criteria that you have for to measure the success of your team. Like and another task or a criteria of evaluation was the happiness index, if I name it correctly, where you asked each of the employees to, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy you are working in this team. So this is also like particularly unique to Uniper, among a lot of other things that I find are like going on totally differently at Uniper as compared to other companies.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something I can proudly say, that it was not that I discovered it. I just took it from my boss, who took it from his boss, who took it from his boss, and everyone follows it. And this is really cool, because everyone is in the same level then, when it comes to, or in the same mindset when it comes to writing these numbers. And I remember I got a lot of tens, and whenever I see nines, I started thinking, what went wrong? And sevens as well from some colleagues. But yeah, that's the fun part, where we talk about what can we improve, what can make you even more happier at what you're doing.
Yeah, so keeping the happiness as a priority apart from the productive work, which is important, because ultimately a happy colleague will probably do more work.
Yeah,
I
definitely. So
suppose.
I think, and this goes back to the topic that we were discussing a little while ago, right? So you need to trust people. You don't need to micromanage them. You need to trust them. You need to make sure that they are not stressed, and only then they will already, if they are given a good piece of work, they will already start working on it. And of course, it's important to keep an eye on what is being done, and when nothing is being done, even after, let's say, a long time, it's important to check and see how can you support those colleagues to come out of that hurdle. But it shouldn't be that you need to chase them every day, and try to get an answer from them every day. I don't think works in that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. So now let's talk about a few recommendations or advice from you. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, do you have some book recommendations on project management, or general books that you'd like to recommend, if any?
I'm a very bad person when it comes to books, because I don't really read much. I can, of course, recommend you the PMBOK, which is the Project Management Book of Knowledge that is created by the PMI Institute when you are executing projects in a waterfall way. I think they also have now the editions available with the Agile project management included. That's like the Bible for project management if you really would like to learn the topic theoretically. I would always recommend you to just work in a project if you are given the opportunity, and just try it out and do it in your way. Do it wrong, but then of course do it wrong in a cool company who allows you to do it wrong, and then learn from that, and then improve yourself, and then do it again, and maybe do it wrong again, but in a cool company, so they let you do it wrong, and then they help you get better. This is the biggest difference between working in a company where they accept failures versus where they are very strict on failures. is a very big difference that I found between Uniper and Eon.
Okay. So what you recommend is learning by doing instead of just doing it like in a university and then working after that. Learning by doing in a company that allows you to make mistakes is how we can summarize it, I think. So finally, any advice that you would like to build, any advice that you would like to give to students who would want to have a good career and you would like to, or even managers who would like to build a good environment? So maybe you can answer it in sets of two. Like one advice would be to students that you can answer later. One advice would be to project managers who would want to get a good environment and also get the employees giving good output and productive work.
So I think for project managers, I can only share what I have done, and I am not the most experienced project manager. I only have done it for a few years now. But one formula that always works for me is team building. I think that is very, very essential part of project management success. And if you can do the team building correctly and regularly, especially in these times when people cannot meet each other, where they do not get the physical interactions anymore. Team building is really, really vital. I think it's the bond that keeps the team together, and the project manager is like the epicenter of that team, right? So it's their responsibility to make sure that the entire team works. It's like the flower and the petals. So if the
Nice.
core is not really keeping the petals together, then they will fall apart. And it's important because every other person working in projects, they have their day job. So which means that they have things to work on. They are working on the project because they are assigned either to that project, they are interested in the project, or they have nothing else to do, that's why they're in the project. But it's the project manager's responsibility to kind of hijack that view and say, okay, this project is the ultimate that you are working on. This is the cool stuff. This is the stuff that makes the big difference. It doesn't matter however the person do it, but as long as this is done and it's done consistently, everyone will continue to contribute and will make the project successful.
So also motivating the employees regarding the importance of the project so that they feel intrinsically driven to
Yes.
contribute to it.
Yes, I think that's really, really vital.
Now, any advice to students who are transitioning into professional life?
I think the first advice I can give you is please open a profile on LinkedIn and try to connect with as many people as you can.
Okay.
I'm sharing a personal example as I have the permission to share it. One of the master student I worked with from Aachen actually was not so convinced to use LinkedIn because he felt, yeah, what's the point? Actually, I kind of then forced him to open it on LinkedIn and open his profile on LinkedIn. So yeah, I think so. One of the students from Aachen, he was not so convinced to have a LinkedIn account, and I really tried in my best to convince him. When it failed, I really almost, I would say, forced him to just open it because what's there to lose, right? Very recently, I got the feedback from him that it was a really nice move because he started exploring LinkedIn. He started watching videos from people interested in for example, data science. That was the beginning, and then went deeper, and then he realized, okay, actually I am very interested in doing an internship in Formula One, and are there people from Formula One there? And then he started connecting with people, and then finally he actually met someone who asked him to work on a topic, and after successfully working on that topic as a kind of a sample, he is now given an opportunity to work at Formula One as an intern. So and he shared this feedback with me, which was like the best feedback I ever received in my life, that hey,
Wow.
because of your decision of asking me to come to LinkedIn, I now get a job in Formula One. Even though I believed in the beginning that this is useless, this whole networking thing, it is very, very useful after a couple of years. So that would be the biggest advice I can share with for the students. I also created mine when I was I think in the university or something. Back then LinkedIn was still smaller compared to what it is right now. If you are not comfortable in English, you can do that on Zing. It's the same, it's the German LinkedIn. So do it. I think it really help, and there is nothing you will lose from that. So yeah, that's I think that could change lives. That's what I learned recently.
Okay, okay. That's another different piece of advice. Like LinkedIn, I would agree. LinkedIn definitely offers a way to connect with people in the industry, and people generally are like really open to talk to students or anyone, which I also found surprising. So I agree with this thing as well.
Yeah, if you
And
if you notice recently, there is a trend that I have followed in the last years where people who are searching for jobs ask for likes. I have seen some of these posts.
oh,
I have liked myself as well, for further reach, so that they could reach more recruiters. I have seen
uh,
50,000 plus likes on post, which comes from someone who is just looking for a job, and many times they get a job, because that is the power of the network. That is how you, sitting somewhere thousands of miles away from me, can still get connected to me, and I can help you get connected to someone who can help you get connected to someone who can give you the job. So
oh,
that's I think that I can only emphasize, and I think it's very important for young individuals to already join, because they have a lot of time in their life and to expand their network, but also reap out of the network immediately, because also a lot of companies now push more money into recruiting through social medias than through their own recruitment channels, because they also understand how the trend is moving from normal recruitment to like social media driven recruitment. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice.
and is there some specific things that you would be seeing if recruiting someone from LinkedIn? Because probably on LinkedIn you could, if someone is posting regularly, you could get to know the person in more depth, right? Than just with a CV. Probably that also gives one a better understanding of the person, and
Definitely.
see if that one fits
Definitely.
or not.
So I know, for example, recruiters also prefer to watch the social media account of the person if they, of course, connect it in their CV. So many people add their LinkedIn, Zing, or other profiles in their CVs, and in many instances, the recruiters also actually go there and have a look to see
Hmm.
what kind of work that person has been doing in the last years, what were their achievements, and so on. So yeah, this is I think um,
Really,
yeah,
yeah,
this is
that's
the
really.
trend, and this is what I think is actually useful. So to have an account,
Yeah, I think that's a really practical advice that anyone can, start implementing
and
today.
and it's free.
And it's free.
And I do not work for LinkedIn, and it's not paid. I'm
I
not
hope
being
so.
paid by
I
them.
hope I
So
hope that you're not secretly working for LinkedIn. So, with this, I'd like to thank you, Shomo, for your time and sharing such interesting information and advices, what you do at Uniper, what the vision of Uniper is, how to lead a team, build communities, and things like that. So, it was truly a pleasure to talk to you after
so long and have a discussion with you that is deeper than we would normally do. So thank you very much.
So yeah, thanks a lot again, Chandan. So for inviting me, I also really loved the invitation first, and then also the questions, and also the effort that you took now to organize everything, and also of course the initiative that you have inside you that is now driving you to do this. I think it's really cool. And I hope you will get further cooler participants who can join you and share their insights on the work they are doing, and it can also reach more and more people. So yeah, let's keep fingers crossed, and I hope that it works out even better for you in the future.
Thank you very much, Shaw. Hey guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this particular conversation and it helped you in some way, shape, or form. If it did, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification icon or the bell icon so that you can get notified on time whenever the next part is out. Also, it would be really great if you could give me your feedback in the comments below. That would really help me improve. I'm uploading small clips of the long podcasts on a regular basis on platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, so make sure to follow me on these platforms if you're someone who cannot take out time for the long episodes. The podcasts are also available on all major podcast platforms including Spotify and Google Podcasts. So if you're someone who prefers to listen to podcasts rather than watching full-length videos, make sure to follow on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you very much and see you next time.